Well, I've been occupied all day and have not gotten a chance to read you guys' chat, so you're gonna get me caught up to speed. But
Of course.
before we get into all of that, welcome to BBD. How are you enjoying the org?
Oh, I'm enjoying it so much. Of course, I love all the Zepeto graphics. That's like the big thing for me right now. As you may or may not have seen in my DR, I've done a little bit of messing with them. I haven't really got a chance to mess with them since another org I hosted actually, which was Viper. So I'm very excited to have them in my life again. But in terms of like the org overall, I'm very excited to be here as well because I have had a couple instances where things came up. So I'm excited to finally be here and to give it my all. And I am so excited to like be here for you guys as well as hosts. So just so much excitement.
Period. Love to hear that. So, right out the gates, you guys are sorted into these little groups. You ended up in the social group. So I've heard you have had a lot of thoughts about your group. So
The biggest
how are you
lie of the
feeling with them?
season. Okay, so look, when we were choosing group names, we were maybe a little generous because honestly, I don't know how much I feel like that actually applies to what's happening. I mean, in terms of my view, of course, this is just my conversations at the end of the day. I just don't think that the social clique is truly the social clique of the house, if that makes sense. So, like, looking at the people in my group, I see Mira, who is my queen, and she's like there. Like, that's where I see the vision, you know? Like, I see where the social clique went there, but then it is just a downhill fall. Like, I feel like with Malik and with Brandy and Livy, there have just been like faults in the socialness of everything, and I just do not agree with the clique that they are in, which is like a tad bit hateful, but like only the slightest amount. I just, when it comes to those terms, I am not exactly there. And with the overall click too, I've just had so many like thoughts about how the groups are playing out because I feel like it's very different from the reality of what mine is. In all honesty, I feel like the social clique is kind of just like an unorganized mess who like maybe will save each other if they're lucky. Honestly, it just kind of feels like we haven't got together to truly like strategize like what are we doing, how are we approaching the group twist, like what is like our takes on this as a group. And that probably comes from the fact within like day two there was already like a semi call out from Brandy to Livy, which didn't help things. So I don't know, it just kind of feels like an unorganized mess in a way. And when I try to like compare that experience to others, it's just like not the same. I feel like I hear a little bit of strategy from both of the other cliques from other people. Like, for instance, even if it's a small thing, Jordan was talking about how the strategy clique is like choosing numbers for the daily raffles and everything and letting each other know. And we're not doing anything of those sorts. So it just kind of like, it feels like a blind spot for me right now to kind of like figure out how the group dynamics are working, how it's supposed to work. It's like I'm in the middle of a very dysfunctional family and everyone else is like semi-functional. So I don't know. I wish that we had more thoughts and opinions and we were actually more cohesive, but we're not. And I've just come to accept that fact here.
All right, very interesting. So you guys played Icebreakers for your first HOH, and Shinx ends up being your first head of household. So how did you feel about Shinx winning the HOH, and did anything come to a surprise to you as far as how things played out with his nominations?
So with Shinx's HOH, I was very happy because I had this a little bit in my DR, but Shinx was a part of the most recent org I played actually, which was Big Brother Rewinds. We were on an all-star season together and we were the final two there. I lost. We'll see how better I am. We'll figure that out later. But in terms of like instant connections, there was just already something there, which when you're, of course, facing the new cast, the people that you instantly recognize is going to be who you click with. And I hate that that's like a little bit meta, but it is true. It's just like a comfortability in like familiarity, you know? So when we kind of saw each other, like, I joked around, like, oh, how could you be here? Blah, blah, blah. But overall, I was happy to see him here. So seeing him be the HOH was a very nice thing for me because I kind of already felt like I was going to be pretty safe before any, like, crazy alliances happened, which I'm sure I'll talk about later. But it just kind of felt like there was already something there. So I didn't feel like I needed any like reason to be in danger, or I didn't feel like there was a reason I'd be nominated by him because we did have that instant like connection, that instant like small thing we could get together with. And then when it came to the nominations, it is the least surprised anyone could be. Literally, I think that Shinx told me that decision maybe 10 minutes after HOH, and I was not shocked. I mean, Zareen has not been here, and precedingly is not here, and like not too much on my mother or anything, but like she is not here right now, and I wish she was because we do have like a click instantly with our conversations, and I do think I am high on her list. Problem is, I just don't think she's here, and that's not even a think thing, it's just kind of a fact right now. And then, of course, that was kind of later in the cycle, but it wasn't shocking to me then either because she wasn't necessarily active either way. And then with Brandy, there had been little things. I think most people kind of felt like it was a dry conversation or it was kind of hard to drag out because Brandy's kind of the type of person you have to like double text to get a conversation out of. And it was it's kind of like a case like I like both nominees and they both kind of said that they wanted to work with me, but there's just not a lot of like value in an ally that's being seen by the house like that. At least not now. So for me, the nominees were neither surprising nor scary for me. I was just kind of like, yeah, this is status quo. This is kind of what I expected because it's what the house was probably going to say, whether Shinx had waited or not. So no surprises, no nothing. Just, all right, yeah, pretty much fair.
Right, fair enough. So the power of veto plays out, and Shinx wins the first power of veto, and does not use it. So, how are you feeling about right off the gate, kind of back to back comp wins from Shinx?
Not at all surprised. Like I said, I was from his recent org, and he won so much. It was infuriating. I hate him for that. There is a reason he's in the physical clip. Like, he can say all he wants. Oh, I applied for strategy. Oh, I applied for strategy. You're here for a reason. They obviously chose you to go there. No shocker. But, I mean, that's just like past experience. I just know that he's someone that can win comps. Like, this is not a surprise to me. But I think I'm a little surprised that he would go out of his way to win the POV. I don't know why he thinks like that. Like I get you don't want to make a renomination. It is scary in this house, but when you're already kind of labeled under a physical group, why put yourself in a situation where you're immediately going to have a sweep week? Like that doesn't help anything regardless. Like yes, you don't have to renominate somebody, but like what gives? But anyways, that's kind of just like in me thing if I were in the HOH position. I think overall it wasn't surprising. Obviously not surprising he didn't use it. And now that we're faced with like eviction, it's kind of just like I don't know. I'm kind of just going with the flow of everything that's happening. I kind of like lost what the question was exactly for some reason. My brain lost it.
Please,
But
no, you're good. I was gonna segue here next of kind of where's your head at with this eviction.
perfect. So with me, this eviction, I just want to follow what other people want to do. Because honestly, I don't have a preference too hard in who leaves here. I just want to let the house choose this battle because I don't mind. I do think it's pretty obvious that Serena's going to go because she's just not been here. There's not been any conversation or any sort of really a campaign either because she's just not here. So it's not at all shocking for me that Serena's probably going to go. And frankly, either way, if she was here or not, I was likely going to personally vote for her either way because I need my GPA points. I am not trying to go negative early, so I did not want to have to vote Brandy whether or not that was the house target. And I've said over and over, and it is true that if it is the case where a vote is really close, I don't think I'm going to care about that. But I do care about it right now because I don't think either nominee going is like necessarily a hugely bad thing for me. So it's just kind of like the toss up will happen, and my vote doesn't really matter. So, in terms of who I want gone, it frankly didn't really matter much to me. It's nice to have somebody from the social clique, but as I kind of hit on before, I don't think that we're a cohesive bunch. So I don't really care for that much. So honestly, it's a little bit like bad, I think, for us not to lose somebody early because I think the kind of like mentality everyone may have behind the scenes is like these are teams at the end of the day, and these are like somebody you were put with at the beginning of the game, and it's a visible thing that everyone sees. So whether or not you can say what you want to say, everyone's going to have in the back of their mind that team thing. So when it comes to these first few cycles, it is going to be at least a little bit influenced by those teams. So what would have been nice is if we could lose from somebody from our clique early, because then we kind of look like a less threatening. We look less threatening overall. So I would have actually kind of liked to lose somebody from our clique. I mean, that kind of sounds like counterproductive, but in this case, I just think it would have been nice if we didn't come out so like threatening as a clique or as a group. But overall, when it comes to like this specific eviction, I mean, I didn't have any strong thoughts either way. So I'm completely fine with Serene going. I am sad because I do think I was probably higher on her list, but I honestly feel like I could maybe say that for Brandy too. So it's really like a loss in that sense. So it's more of just like it's more like who had more value as an ally, and even then, I just don't think that there was much to measure there. So that's overall my thoughts.
Sounds good. Um, so I've seen you've been pulled into quite a few alliances over the days. So let us know kind of, how these alliances came about, which ones are serious to you, which ones are just kind of there, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I've just been like such the silly little guy, and everybody just wants a piece of it, I guess. I love it. I'm cool with that. I mean, okay, so first off, backstory all the alliances, obviously, because there's actually a lot, it feels like. We're not going to count the social butterflies alliance because that's more of like a group thing that everybody has. So, like, whatever. I don't think I need to explain that. I've already talked about the social clique, whatever. The next one that was made was the Offbeat Clique. Whoa. And this was made by Michael and Shanks, really. And it was kind of to bring together a big group. And I think the ultimate purpose of it was to get two people from each group. Like, I think that was ultimately what they were aiming for more than anything. And to me, I don't really see it as something that's going to go strong for a long time. I think once you get past like maybe 4 alliance members, you kind of hit the zone of like things are gonna fall apart probably. So I don't think it's like a danger now. Like it's not gonna fall apart in the foreseeable like 2 cycles or so, but it's not gonna last the whole game by any means. Like unless something crazy happens. And I think that's accentuated by the people in it as well. I feel like Malik and MJ and even Val to some extent aren't like the most social or the most like noteworthy players right now in the house. So I was a little shocked to see them there, honestly. So like with that considered, it's like that's more reasons I don't think it's gonna stick together. In all honesty, like the way I saw it, it was a little bit more like Michael probably made this, and I think Shanks just kind of accentuated it because this kind of feels like the people that Michael would be close to, and this kind of feels like something that Michael would do to me. Like I think he would think to get 2 people from every clique, and I do think like he trusts me and he trusts these people. But the interesting thing to me is it just kind of gives me like a view of what he thinks in the game. Like this is truly who he is close with because, like I said, MJ and Malik are not like the most social players, so it kind of tells me like where his head at is like there. But overall, I don't think it's going to stick. It's going to be kind of something that blows over eventually. So my main thought is just kind of getting a view into like what Michael may think. So moving on to the next one is Hot Girl Shit. So this is the first of three alliances that kind of got made in rapid succession, to be honest. So Hot Girl Shit is between myself, Mira, Aiden, and Jordan. And this is the group that I love. Like, personally, this is who I really connect with. In the early days of, like, this org, I was saying, I mean, it is still the early days, but you get what I mean. There was, like, conversations I had with everyone that was like, who do I feel good with? Because I wanted to, like, show people, like, oh, I guess I can trust you. But, Aiden, Jordan, and Mira, I pretty consistently put in my top people. And that was for every reason. Like, I think I connected them so well personally, and they're very easy to back and forth with. So I trust them quite a bit. So when Mira suggested, more as a joke at first, but I think it was like a half joke, that me, Aiden, and Jordan, and Mira, of course, were gonna make an alliance, I kind of jumped on that. Do I kind of regret how quickly I jumped on that? Maybe a little. I was kind of tired that day and I just really wanted to make the group. So that was like a little on me for jumping a little too fast. But I'm hoping that everyone kind of sees it as like a strong alliance because I certainly do. I think this is one of the alliances that I'm going to stick with pretty heavily, at least until like something bigger happens. This kind of feels like an alliance is going to go strong like to the mid game, and then we'll see how far we get when we start hitting the end game zone. So overall, like that's thinking way down the line, but this is my group. This is who I feel great with, like on a personal level. So this is the group I want to stick with for those reasons. So the next group was MLM, or Men Loving Men, if you didn't know. And this was made between myself, Mira, Shinx, and Ryan. So this was kind of like, it's a little confusing origins for me, but Mira mentioned it first to me and let me know that Ryan was thinking of making an alliance. And he was saying that he wanted to pull together strong players, which was kind of like an interesting wording on his part, because it kind of hit to me like, oh, Blaze might be really social or something like that. And Shinx is already the HOH, so that's kind of what I thought it could be accentuating. But if it's for the reason Mira said there, like something I need to consider is how social I'm appearing to everyone. And I'm already getting like pinned as a social person, so that specifically there was just kind of like a little bell for me that if it's true, it is something I want to look at, but I just need to know if it's true or not yet. But anyways, that was the first thing that was accentuated to me. And then I kind of like worked on the conversation with Ryan to kind of get there to jumpstart it before the idea kind of died out. And we got there, and according to him, I think the reasoning was a little different. He didn't say anything about strong players. He just kind of let me ramble on about like why we may want to make the alliance. So he never really gave a whole lot of reasoning from remembrance. Um, but we ended up making the group, and I do feel good with it. I don't know how long it'll last. I do think it's a good four. I definitely trust the people in it, but it's just kind of a case of like, I'm not quite sure because of the Ryan statement, you know, like where he was saying that it's strong players, like that little alarm bell for me. So I do want to be careful when it comes to that, but for now I do trust the four, and I do think that it is a like real four, obviously. So I'm going to follow that one pretty heavily in comparison to others as well. So the final one is Monster Fuckers, which was made between myself, Livy, MJ, and Sammy. And this one was made. I gotta clear my throat, my goodness. I spoke for too long. Okay. This one was made because of the VC that was in the living room, I think yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. But we played Monster Camp, and there was just kind of the connection there that I think MJ in particular felt was really strong. And that led to MJ bringing it to Livy, and Livy, being the more direct person of us all, just kind of immediately brought it up and let it kind of flourish. And that's probably because she needed something too. Because she has been on a little bit more of an active side. And for those reasons, I just don't know how far I'm going to take this alliance, because there's a couple different reasons. First and foremost, I know Mira and Sammy are having a thing, and Mira is one of my top allies. So of course, something that I have to consider is like the like dynamics there. So I do have to consider that. And then additionally, with Livy, she's not very active in particular. So I'm kind of scared she's going to go up. And I don't know how much I want to put my neck out to save her if that happens. This is assuming that she doesn't get herself in a better position. So overall, I just don't know how long the alliance will last because there's kind of like those discrepancies, like those things that I think could go wrong. So I'm kind of scared of that, respectfully. But in terms of like my loyalty to it, I'm gonna be as loyal as I can. With all the alliances that have been made, I just cannot win the HOH, I think. So I can't put any of my like potential allies in danger. So I'm not too worried about my own like, oh, who can I be loyal to just yet? Because I'm gonna probably start throwing because there's just too many connections that I have. So it wouldn't be a good idea for me to win HOH for that reason. So I'm not too concerned about loyalty as a whole between all these alliances, but if I had to say my strongest alliances are Hot Girl Shit and MLM. Monster Fuckers and Offbeat Click are kind of like the side alliances that are there for now, but I think are going to fall apart for different reasons. So, total ramble and a bunch of stuff to talk about there, but hopefully that kind of clears some ideas up with everything. Told to answer your question. I think I've covered a lot here. Um, the biggest thing for me was those alliances because there is a lot that got made recently, and it probably is important for me to give you like an idea of what I'm thinking with those alliances. But on a bigger scale, I think there's just more I need to like consider. So I think as the game progresses, some things may change, and everything is like subject to change, obviously. But I think the biggest point that I hit that I want to kind of like talk about is something I am concerned with at this point in the game is possibly being pinned as a social threat like immediately. And there's not much I can do to change that if it's already happened. Um Honestly, with Ryan's little comment about that in the alliance, or well, alleged comment, who knows? But with that, I am a little worried because it could mean that I'm being pinned as a social threat, which I don't think is detrimental to any means. It just kind of affects me in the end game. So I kind of want to like keep an eye on that and kind of keep myself aware of like where my threat level is at with everybody. And it's also very important to consider that because I need to know how like the other house guests are like talking and everything. And if I'm getting compared with on notes and whatnot, I need to be consistent all around. So it's kind of like something to consider as we move forward, but a lot of this round for me was kind of like cultivating those relationships for the later parts of the game, and I want to continue doing that. And this was kind of just the perfect cycle for me because there were two easy noms, and with Shinx getting pinned in two alliances with me, there was no way I was going to be the renom or anything like that. So it gave me a great opportunity to choose to build on the relationships of everybody. And I hope that I have like a cultivating working relationship with everybody at this point. Even Crow, who's been on the lower side of my trust rankings this entire time. We had a conversation recently where we kind of like solidified with each other. I don't know how real that is, but he says that he's the closest with me on the social side, and I'm going to put forward that trust that that's true, but there's always the skepticism. So overall, I think I've just been kind of like cultivating those relationships so that they can flourish and everything in the later stages of the game. And yeah, overall, I just kind of have been looking at the cycle to that extent. Like, this was the perfect cycle for it with Shinx winning, so I wanted to take that opportunity, like, immediate. So here we are, where we're all having fun together, I guess.
Period. Thank you, Blaze. Just one last question. Who do you think, in terms of the tutors, will be the first to lose their immunity?
Ooh, I wanted to immediately jump out and say Livy just because of, you know, are being inactive, but it's a little bit more complex than that. I am no like mathematician. Like I know 1 + 1 is 2 and whatnot, but I kind of feel like I need to do a deep dive in like the statistics of all that to figure it out because it kind of more depends on like everyone's activity. Um, I think overall, if I look at the teams, I think that it's not going to be Ryan, I don't think. I don't see why he would lose his because I think he has some very like strong people in his alliance who are going to put forth the effort. Well, not his alliance, his group. Um, it's definitely be between Libby and Michael. And of those two, if I had to guess, Will, I think it's probably going to be Michael actually, because I think Serene's like inactivity is probably going to hit pretty hard, and some people may vote for Serene too in that own like clique. So if I had to guess, probably Michael, but it could be Libby too. I just don't think it'd be Ryan.
Okay, cute. Well, we'll find out after the eviction. So thanks for doing your live DR. Whenever you want to do another one, just let us know.
Of course, and there definitely will be more, don't worry. I love doing voice like DRs. It's so much easier than text. Like text, I feel like has to put like so much effort into it just to get some thoughts out. So I love doing the voice DRs, so I'm sure I'll be back.
Cute, and we love hearing it. Thank you, Voice.
Oh, thanks. I will be here anytime. You're welcome.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.